of Kane's work was to conduct research about Trevor Phillips to stop him becoming the head of the new Commission for Equality and Human Rights, or CEHR. On the 26th of June, Jasper wrote to Kane, "Can you draft a possible article outlining my opposition to TP, Trevor Phillips, becoming CEHR chair on the basis of his track record at the Commission for Racial Equality?" Kane agrees, as long as she will be paid. This idea had been brewing. 8 days earlier, Jasper had written to a colleague that we should develop a devastating critique of TP tenure at CRE, and that if he took charge of the new organisation, it would be like taking control of a train that is destined to crash, or becoming the captain of the Titanic. I showed these emails to the anti-racism campaigner, Suresh Grover.
I don't think the mayor's office should be involved in discrediting any individual, never mind using public purse to discredit individuals, regardless of the position that they're going for. And of course the issue is that the position of the Commissioner for the Human Rights and Equality is a very pivotal position. But if that information is true, I'm just gobsmacked.
On the 5th of July, the research done by Anne Kane on Trevor Phillips was published in an article on this website, Black Information Link, part of a group of which Jasper used to be a trustee. A week after publication, Kane revealed her satisfaction at the article's effect. "I have feedback that TP was rattled by Blink material. Apparently his candidature was being promoted as something that would please black communities, and the publicity indicated contrary to that." Dame Judith Mayhew Jonas, formerly an advisor to Ken Livingstone and previously head of the Corporation of London, has also worked closely with Trevor Phillips.
Well, I sat on the Equality Review set up by Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister with Trevor Phillips. Trevor is an outstanding candidate and was the most appropriate person to be appointed. I would be shocked if I thought that people actually spent public money in a campaign to discredit someone as good as Trevor. So if that is the case, then I'm upset to hear that, and I am very surprised.
Kane's full consultancy cost the taxpayer £14,400. Dispatches has discovered that her appointment was signed off by the mayor himself. This was done retrospectively, waiving the usual code of practice for employing GLA staff.
What should the mayor do in this kind of circumstance? After all, it's his name that's there signing off the employment of this individual to do this work.
Well, if he knew exactly what the work entailed, then I think he possibly owes Trevor an apology.
As Director of Equalities and Policing for the Mayor, Lee Jasper is paid £121,360 a year. Both Jasper and Anne Kane deny that their work was intended to discredit Trevor Phillips. Jasper also states that he was exonerated by an internal GLA investigation into the matter, which also accepted that the Mayor's retrospective appointment followed correct procedure. It is the presidential design of the Mayor's office that affords him the extraordinary power of retrospective appointment. Undermining opposition is all part of the Mayor's presidential style of government. Just like a president, the Mayor has been setting up embassies across the world. The Brussels embassy costs £415,000 a year. Chinese embassies, £350,000 a year. And in India, the bill is over £200,000.
Shot one, take four.
The globe-trotting mayor and his staff have visited 17 cities across the world, and the mayor himself has visited 11 countries since he was elected, exporting his own idiosyncratic brand of diplomacy. Here's his unique take on the Tiananmen Square massacre.
In the same way that Trafalgar Square's had an interesting history and past, not always a peaceful one, is a very clear parallel.
In April 2006, the mayor led a delegation of 77 people to China. The flights and accommodation alone cost £145,000. His recent trip to India, with an entourage of 84 people, including the pop star Mylene Klaas, cost the taxpayer £740,000. The mayor says these trips are necessary to drum up business for London.
People may think, oh, does showing a mock-up of Big Ben have any impact? But it'll be on every news channel in India tonight, reaching over 1 billion people.
Even if this is the case, it seems difficult to justify some of the expenses involved. Dispatches has obtained full hotel bills for the Mayor's China trip. Livingston spent £605.91 on room service. Also, on this approval form for the Mayor's credit card, there seems to be some confusion over what this £594 was spent on.
I think it's really important that people who do this on behalf of government or local government are prudent in the way they travel and can justify their expenses. There is absolutely no point in wasting money in this way, because it is the most obvious thing to be scrutinised.
The Mayor's argument for fostering trade relations with India and China is a simple one. These are the two fastest growing economies in the world. The same cannot be said for Cuba, which the Mayor spent £13,000 visiting in 2006, or Venezuela, where the Mayor is in the process of setting up yet another embassy. The Mayor and his team are spending significant sums of public money on foreign trips, some of questionable value to the people of London. In part 2, we investigate Livingston's foreign policy and ask if anyone is really holding the Mayor to account. In part 1, we saw how Ken Livingstone and his advisers have been using the office of Mayor to attack opponents and create an international presence overseas independent of national government. These links with other nations have also led the Mayor into some rather strange deals, which he says are beneficial to London.
It is not that socialism failed. It is that socialism hasn't yet come. And we salute one of those people, and I invite him to address you, who is leading the struggle to build that socialism here in our 21st century. Please welcome the President of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez.
I love you.
On a recent visit to London, Hugo Chavez agreed a deal with Livingstone to provide London with £15 million to subsidise the fuel for its buses. In return, the Mayor's office would provide transport advice to Venezuela.
For Venezuela, their oil is cheap. For us, our expertise we've accumulated over a century is cheap. We're exchanging things which are cheap to each of us, but vital to the other.
The Mayor has sold the deal as a win-win situation for Caracas and London, but a closer look at the contract reveals that its benefits are questionable. The Tory MP, Alan Duncan, has worked for many years in the oil industry. The deal baffles him.
It is the Mayor's office providing services to Caracas in Venezuela, connected with a subsidy by Venezuela of transport for London's sort of diesel costs. Now, the effect of it is that actually you have got one of the poorest countries in the world subsidising one of the richest capitals in the world. I think this is immoral.
Venezuelan critics of Chavez are unconvinced that the deal is in the best interests of their country.
As a Venezuelan, I can assure you there are other priorities. You need to help the poor, those that are living under $2 a day or under £1 a day. We need to send those people food. We need to aid them to gain education, to improve their health conditions, and then think about roads.
Despite being a fellow socialist, the president of Chile is reported to have turned down a similar deal with Chavez because she told him it was bad for his own people. Livingstone has no such scruples. This leaked memo shows what the Venezuelan government really expected to get from the deal. The hope was to promote the Chavez regime on the side of London buses, as well as getting transport advice. That's London buses promoting a government with links to Iran and cocaine smuggling guerrillas, and accused of human rights abuses by Amnesty International. Doing deals like this was not what the man who set up the Mayor's office as Minister for London had in mind.
I'm not quite sure why